we doing, everybody, and welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It is a gloomy Sunday in the great state of Wisconsin, and not just because of the weather, but because it was. I tell you what, you can have bad weekends for sports. This was about as bad as it could possibly be for Wisconsin sports. Bucks lose. Badgers get completely throttled. Packers lose to the Lions. Just an all-around rough weekend. So we're going to get into it all today. Aaron is not here. I know all you Philly fans out there are upset at that. I'm sorry that Aaron is not in tonight. But I got Kyle with me tonight here, chomping on the Bit Podcast. You can find him all over social media on all them platforms. Kyle, how we doing tonight here?
I mean, I'm doing all right. You know, you swap out Philly, you get a Boston guy. So I don't know what that does for your viewers necessarily, but yeah, I mean, I watched my Patriots put forth an effort, but come up short. You know, still riding the high from the Celtics. I got that at least. So I'm definitely glad to be here talking to you for sure.
He's got the Celtics. At least he's got the Celtics. Something to look forward to, I guess, right? You got to always have something there. So we got, lots to get into tonight. I wanted to start out right away. We got the men's basketball is back. We got college basketball back. Thank the Lord, because I don't think I can handle much more of the football right now in Madison. I don't think I can handle much more. So I don't know if I can handle much of this team yet in basketball, because it's a lot of unknowns, right? We lose AJ Storr, we lose Tyler Wall, we lose, Chucky Hepburn, and now you head into this season, and there's a lot of unknowns in Madison. There's a lot of unknowns. So that's something I want to dive into right away. They have this matchup coming up tomorrow here with Holy Cross. Now you're like, it's Holy Cross. They should get the win. I would hope they get the win too. But there's a lot of things I want to talk about. We haven't talked about Badger basketball yet, right? So there's a lot to know. Who's going to be in that starting five? Who do we see coming off the bench there for the Badgers? And some things that we see with this Holy Cross team that the Badgers need to avoid an upset here with Holy Cross 100%. Right? You can't start a season against Holy Cross losing this game. A lot of Badger fans out there a little nervous after that close exhibition game with River Falls. Like, River Falls is a very small college in the state of Wisconsin, and Wisconsin always plays these little exhibition games with small colleges in the state, and that game was a little too close for comfort. So a lot of Badger fans on edge right now. So let's get into it right away. So the Badgers, we know they're returning Klesman, right? Max Klesman's coming back. You got Steven Crowell back. You have Nolan Winter back from last season there. Those are going to be your big guys. John Blackwell returning also. Kamari McGee's in there. Carter Gilmore, if you count him as a big returner there for the Badgers. You add in a lot of transfers. You get John Tanji from down there in Missouri. You get Xavier Amos. You get Cameron Hunter. Some new faces, some fresh faces into the room. So where do we see the starting five? Well, right now, my starting five, and what I think they're going to roll with, is the combination of Max Klesman, John Blackwell, John Tanji, and then you're going to see Nolan Winter and Steven Crowell. Now, when you say those names, you don't have a true point guard in there. You don't have a guy who his main job is to facilitate the basketball. You have two guys in Klesman and Blackwell who are good scorers, right? They like to score the basketball. John Tanji, he's going to be a guy that you hope can replace what you had with AJ Storr, the athleticism, the ability to get to the basket, the outside. He's a 3-level scorer. So you like that. He's got that 3-level scoring ability. Nolan Winter, you're seeing if he takes that step forward this year from last season. He was freshman last year. See if he takes that step forward. And then you have Steven Crowell, the big man, returning there. So a lot of question marks if that's going to be the starting five they roll out with. What are we going to see late game, right? Because when I watch, you watch a lot of teams out there, you got to have a late game lineup. And sometimes that varies off of what your starting lineup is. You can change it up late in a game. You might start out with this, but in late game situations, you're going to change to have a true point guard in there. I think that's kind of what the Badgers are going to roll with, is when they get into a late game situation where it's a close game or they're playing a possession game, you're going to see guys like Kamari McGee, or if like Daniel Freitag, the freshman, kind of steps forward as a true point guard. And, I know he's a point guard, right? I know he could be a great guard, but if he takes that step forward and he develops right away, if he can be that guy for you. So I'm watching early on in this season to see my players to watch. So I wrote down my players to watch in this one. John Tanji, He's got that athleticism, right? Tough word there. Tough word. He's got that athleticism that he's a wing. He's got the ability to score on all three levels. I'm interested to see how they use him and utilize his talents within this offense. If he can be that high-level scorer that they lost with AJ Storr. I'm really interested in him. Max Klesman, he's going to be in a bigger role this season, right? No Chucky Hepburn. He's got to take that step forward. What does Max Klesman give you out there, especially not just on the offensive end, but as a defensive leader too, because he's going to be tasked with a lot of the good point guards that you're going to see out there. Steven Crowell, does he take that step forward in that post area? Last season, I mean, a lot of people said he was soft. He was about as soft as a pillow, and not one of them hard pillows. He was about as soft as a soft pillow you can find right there. Does Steven Crowell become a dominant big man, right? That's what kind of drives the Big Ten Conference is dominant big men. Look at Purdue last year with Zach Edey there. And then you had Caleb Swanigan before him there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Hunter Dickinson at Michigan. You got to have a big guy that can, control the middle of the floor. So I want to see what Steven Crowell does this year. And then also that progression of John Blackwell and Nolan Winter. You talk about two guys who they showed out a little bit last season, but what do they have for that encore performance now? What are they going to show us that they took that next step to becoming some kind of star here in Madison? Those are two guys I'm watching there. And then on that bench, right? So I talked about my starting five. My sixth man, of course, probably going to be Kamari McGee. You're looking for a guard coming off the bench. So I'm looking at McGee there. And then you have Carter Gilmore, free tag. Amos will be in there a little bit, Cameron Hunter. And then you're going to see guys like Marcus Ilvers and Jack. I believe Jack Janicki will see a little bit of time there. I don't know what his role is going to be yet, but I think he's going to see time. So who comes off of that bench and provides that scoring for the Badgers is something I'm going to be looking at this next season. Kyle, you very versed in the Badger basketball right now. Have you been keeping up out there?
I mean, I can't say that I have, but look, I feel like with Wisconsin and a lot of these teams early in the season, that's what these games are for. Because like you look at their schedule, like you said, you got Holy Cross, it was like Montana State, App State. Then you have a game against Arizona. So for Wisconsin, you want to make sure you have things locked down before that Arizona game. You want to know your rotation. You want to know late game situations, who you can go to. You want to know all these things. So early in the season, it may not look great every minute, but you stack your wins when you get into the Big Ten schedule and, like I said, the Arizona matchup. You got to know who your team is. And that goes for not just Wisconsin. Like I said, that goes for every big name school out there right now because they'll play a lot of teams. I know Holy Cross. I know like BC plays them every year as well. And Holy Cross will, they're gamers, right? They'll show up. They'll play a little bit. They might upset a team or two early in the season, but yeah, that's going to be the main thing. Like you said, like everything you pointed out, that's what these games are for. You got to find that out because you can't go into the Big Ten schedule still trying to figure out who's my sixth man off the bench. Oh, my big man rotation. Like who can I use against this team or against that team? You need to nail all that down before you get into it. They had a good season last year. Wisconsin did. I mean,
Yep.
So
all things considered,
right? I mean, it was a pretty good year. It's going to be obviously some pressure for them to get rolling early on. And all these games that I'm talking about are all at home. So you want to be taken seriously. Like you got to take care of home court. That's even with the Arizona game. Like you don't want Arizona coming into Wisconsin, showing you up on your own court and walking out of there with an easy win. So you'll learn a lot about them early on. I mean, I will tune in because I do like Big Ten basketball. Like it's the same thing with football. All these conferences, they all have like their staples. When you watch Big Ten, you kind of look for low post play and that guard on the perimeter who can create. So like I said, I will watch a few of these games and I kind of want to see because Wisconsin is a team that like through my history of watching college basketball, I've always been kind of fascinated a little bit with Wisconsin. I couldn't tell you why. It's just like a team that I always find myself kind of watching every once in a while. So We'll see.
They used to, you watched them and it was almost like the basketball at its purest form. It wasn't, this run and gun. It wasn't, trying to beat teams with athleticism. It was more of your traditional basketball. We're going to beat you with free throws. We're going to beat you by out rebounding you, playing defense, all those little things like a Virginia and like Wisconsin was so well known for. And now we go into this exhibition game, we shoot 32 threes. So I don't even know what this Badger team's about. But that's the thing,
they're
too.
Evolving. They're evolving.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned it, rotations. That was one of the things I was looking to learn in this game here, or start to learn here for the first couple. One of the things that I'm looking at too is identity, right? You got to figure out the identity of this team. What are they good at? What are the things that we need to improve on? Like you said, rotation wise, what are the things that, Stephen Crowell needs to develop a little bit better in that inside, or those little things? What is the identity of this team moving forward? Are they that run and gun team? Or do they need to be that slow it down, set up the offense, work it through, cuts, whatever it is? That's something I want to learn here against Holy Cross is what works and what doesn't, right? Because we saw that game against River Falls. It took a 24-5 run late in the game there for him to pull out to a 20-point lead. Otherwise, that was a nail-biter of a game against a team that should not even be on the same floor as you on most nights, but they played a great game. So we're watching that in this one. But this Holy Cross team, so let's get a little bit into the preview here. I got a little bit of notes on this Holy Cross team. They return a couple guys. They got a couple transfers in there. So one of the big guys to watch out for in this one, his name's Caleb Kenny. Last season there, he averaged 11 points a game, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks. He had about a steal a game. I mean, just a solid all-around forward there for him. So watch out for Caleb Kenny in this one, a 6'6" forward there. Solid ball player all the way around. You have Will Batchelor. Last season, 8 a game for him. He shot 37% from downtown. Not a bad clip from downtown there. 51 for 136. Not a bad shooter. Forward Joe Nugget, he shot 40% from downtown last season. 56 for 135, I believe, 138, somewhere in there. I can't read my own handwriting sometimes, but a good three-point shooter in his own right there. DeAndre Williams, 12th in the league, in their Patriot League last season there in assists. So you're talking about a guy who facilitates a basketball, a guy to watch out for there. And then you had another guy by the guard, Singleton, one of their guards there too. Khalil Singleton, a guard for him. He shot 38% from downtown, 34 for 88. So in hindsight, what I'm saying is that in this game, the Badgers, they have set the tone early, right? You want to set the tone early. You want to show Holy Cross that you guys do not belong on the same court as we are, right? This is our court. This is home court. We're going to bully ball you. We're going to control the inside, and then we're going to work outside. So what I'm doing early, if I'm Wisconsin, is I'm setting the tone early on the inside with Stephen Crowell, Nolan Winter, whoever it is, setting that tone early. Work inside out then. That's a big note for me. Work inside out. Don't start out the game by jacking up 32 threes. Let's start on the inside, work our way back outside. That's the way to win this game. Keep that ball moving. I hate it so much when I turn on Wisconsin basketball, or even the Bucks. We're going to get into the Bucks here in a minute, but it's so stagnant, right? Guys are standing around. There's no movement. I want to see the Badgers constantly moving the ball. The ball keeps zipping around. That's what you watch a lot of these big programs. Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, all these good teams out there, that ball is constantly zipping around. So that's something I want to see the Badgers start to develop there. Protecting the basketball. Don't let yourself fall into a turnover game with Holy Cross. Protect the basketball. Do the little things in this game, and it'll be fine. Perimeter defense, I just mentioned it there with the great three-point, not great, but solid three-point shooting that Holy Cross has. You got to run them off the three-point line. Make them make a decision. Have them come inside, double them off, whatever you got to do. You got the size advantage in this game. Work them off that three-point line and rebound the basketball. That is Big Ten basketball at its finest. If you get out-rebounded, you're going to lose. That's just plain and simple. So the Badgers got to rebound in this game. You have to rebound in this game and out-rebound Holy Cross by a good margin here. And if you do all those things, those don't seem like massive things, but if you do all those things, you avoided the upset here. You avoided making it look like you're a bad team. This is one of those games where I think it's more for the fans, right? It's for the players, but the fans need to, they need this game because they saw that River Falls game. They need to see a good performance out of the Badgers here to just okay, we're fine. It's early. It was just an exhibition game. We can move on with it. So just a little bit of tidbits there about this Holy Cross game here, but it's going to be tomorrow night there. I believe it's a 7:00 tip for that one, and it's going to be on ESPN Plus, which is or not. Is it on Big Ten Plus or ESPN Plus? Big Ten
I think
Plus.
it's Big Ten Plus. Yeah.
Big Ten Plus. You can't even watch it on ESPN Plus. Only Big Ten Plus there. So I mean, you got to pay to watch this game essentially. There. I don't know. I was just going to look. Let's see here. Once the Badgers, do they have any games that are on Big Ten Network here early? That game against Montana State is on Big Ten Plus. App State is on Big Ten Plus. They have the first 3 games will be on Big Ten Plus for the Badgers. So not a whole lot of local love here for Wisconsin on the Big Ten Network. That Arizona game, I guarantee you, is on like Fox or FS. It's on Peacock. Are you serious? Are you serious? It's on Peacock there. Like, you got to pay to watch that game against Arizona too. You got to pay to watch. I mean, you got to pay anyways, but you got to pay extra just to watch the first 4 games at least of this Badger schedule. I don't even know when they would actually, let's see. They play UT Rio Grande. Yeah, okay. They play UT Rio Grande Valley Vaqueros. They play them on the Big Ten Network. So you get to that game, you get to finally see them on national TV. Outside of that, it's Peacock and Big Ten Plus there for the Badgers. So I guess good stuff there. Good stuff there. Brewer news. A little bit of Brewer news. Nothing majorly crazy, I guess. The Brewers declined the $10.5 million club option on closer Devin Williams. So Williams will receive a $250,000 buyout, but he remains under team control for the 2025 season via arbitration. So essentially, I know a lot of Brewer fans were like, whoa, what's going on? You know, the world's imploding. Like, holy crap. Essentially what is going on is Devin Williams is only worth like 7 to 8 million. Like, they're going to take him to arbitration. His actual projection is 7.7 million. So essentially what the Brewers did was they saved themselves about around $2 million. Like, that's what they were working for. Now, looking at this, Devin Williams is most likely going to get traded. Like, that's where we're kind of at right now. Like, will they get anything? I don't know, because you're talking about a guy with 1 year of control. I don't know if they're going to be able to flip him for anything major at this point there. But, I mean, Kyle, your perspective on it. You know, they're talking, I just see the number there. They said they're going to save about $2.5 million on declining that option. Yeah, it's probably going to tick off Devin Williams a little bit there that, you know, the Brewers don't see his worth as 10.5. But the Brewers are trying to save themselves a nickel here, and you're probably going to end up trading this guy. What would you do if you're in the Brewers' shoes right now? You have 1 year left with Devin Williams. You're probably not going to pay him on the back end of this. Are you looking to move him here in the offseason, or are you going to ride it out with him?
I mean, look, that's definitely one of the tough decisions a lot of these teams have to go through. I mean, the Brewers are coming off of a season where, like, you've learned a lot about the young guys that are out there, and I feel like for the front office, they're going to look at a Devin Williams who is 30 and will be 31 by the end of next season. Can they upgrade that position with a younger guy that they may have who's rising through, you know, AAA or AA? Like, do they want to open that spot up for him? If not, then, like you said, the price tag for Devin Williams at 10.5 for a guy that had 14 saves last year, yeah, that probably doesn't work within their economics. Go to arbitration, you save a couple million. Who knows? Maybe that makes him more attractive to another team out there with a lower price tag. So I definitely see what Milwaukee is doing here. Look, Devin Williams may be upset by it, and I get that, because if you lose the money, anybody would be upset. But that could also make him motivated. And who knows? Maybe he performs a little better next year. He raises his value, and you could look to trade him at the deadline as well.
Yep.
So I agree with the move on that part. You go to arbitration, you lower the money, and now see what opportunities are out there. Worst case, Williams is mad about his situation. He's going to want to have to perform because he wants to go somewhere. Got to show the team that's going to acquire you that you still have something to give them. Because the ERA of 125, you'll take that out of the bullpen. And the whip, 0.97, yeah. So he's not a guy who necessarily just goes into games and just walks a lot of people. Like, he could probably still bring you value, but I kind of think like his time with the Brewers probably comes to an end. I would say the trade deadline. I think he starts with Milwaukee, and then he's a guy that starts coming up in a lot of rumor talk.
You could see it. Yeah, you could see it working that way to almost boost his own trade value as the season goes on. That could be a thing but then, you're also crossing that road. Then what do the Brewers do? Because then they're like, okay, maybe we're up by like 10 games in the division and we just look like this. Absolutely. I don't want to say that the Brewers are going to be a powerhouse, but we look like a powerhouse, right? And you're like, okay, do we move on from Devin Williams? Do we want to move on from this guy? Or are we keeping him and just going all in? Chips to the center of the table. Like we're going all in on this hand here. Like, what do you do there? So, I mean, it's definitely an interesting time for the Brewers there. We'll wait. I mean, we're waiting and seeing what they're going to do. Winter meetings will come and go, and we'll see. Maybe the Brewers will make a move there. We'll wait and see on that one. Gary Sanchez the Brewers also declined his mutual option. That was good. Like, that's good. He was 11 million mutual option. Didn't do much for you last season. You pay him $4 million to go away. That's okay. You have Eric Haas in there if you pick up his option. And then you also have Jefferson Cuero down there in the minor leagues right now. And then William Contreras, as your starting catcher. So Gary Sanchez was kind of obsolete to you at this point. And then Owen Miller is also gone from the Brewers. He is heading to the Colorado Rockies. So they got him for cash. The Brewers got cash back for that one. So a little bit of money there to spend on, I don't even know, probably a soda machine at American Family Field at this point. And then also in other Brewer news, this one, I don't know how people actually feel about it. Colin Ray was put onto waivers by the Brewers. They declined, I believe. He has $5.5 million club option for the upcoming season and a $1 million buyout. So they put him on waivers, see if any team would want to possibly do a trade with him for Colin Ray. I don't know if he'll get that. We'll wait and see on that one. I don't know if the Brewers pick up the option. He's getting a little bit older. They like their young talent that they have in the room. So we'll see what they decide on that end of it there with Colin Ray. The smartest one, I mean, this one was a no-brainer. $8 million club option on Freddie Peralta. That's a steal of a deal for a guy who leads the team in strikeouts basically every single year. That's a steal of a deal on that one. So some moves there for the Brewers heading forward. Jory is in the comments. She says that the Yankees, the Yankees choked. Yeah, I completely agree. The Yankees choked it away. That fifth inning was just a absolute disaster. And Aaron and I talked about that one in full. So if you wanna hear us talk about that a little bit more, you can tune into our last show. Anywhere you can find podcasts. Anywhere you find podcasts, you can find the show that we do live next day. You can find it there. Otherwise, across the social media platforms, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, whatever it is, you can find it there. So, Kyle, let's talk some Bucks. This Bucks team, I mean, man, oh man, they lose a heartbreaker to the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell does them dirty there, scores late in that one, makes it 114 to 113. The Bucks can't figure it out, and it's just over with there. But I'm going to be honest with you right now. I am watching this team outside of Giannis and Dame. And, a lot of people hate on Dame. Outside of Giannis and Dame, there ain't nothing. There is nothing. Nothing to write home about. Nothing. Bobby Portis is playing like a shell of himself at this point. Taurean Prince gives you 18 or 16 in that game, but some nights he's going to give you 0 and shoot 0 from the world. And then you got Gary Trent, who gave you 3 points on the night, but outside of that, he was 1 for 7 from 3. He was 1 for 10 from downtown. Not a great performance there. And then you have Brook Lopez, who, I mean, I was all on the train of getting rid of Brook Lopez last season, and everybody told me that we had to bring Brook Lopez back. Like, that was going to be the key to success. He's averaging 10 points a game right now. So you're supposed to be third star on this team right now, is giving you 10 points a game right now. Yep. Not great. He's not shooting the ball well. Let's see here. Percentage-wise, Brook Lopez is 29% from downtown. That's what he's good at, is shooting threes. And he's 29% from downtown. Kyle, I mean, you're a Celtics guy. You're a Celtics guy through and through. And right now I'm jealous of you because this Bucks team looks atrocious. Like, I see all these rumors about Giannis, and he's like, Giannis might leave. If I was Giannis, I would leave. Like, what's holding him here? What is this roster that we're putting together at this point to try and get over the hump that is the Celtics? This team ain't beating the Celtics in a 7-game series. No way, shape, or form. Not a chance. Unless if Middleton comes back and lights the world on fire, this ain't it. Like, this ain't going to do it. So, Kyle, I mean, outside perspective, what are you seeing right now with this Bucks team? Is there a good thing that you're seeing with the Bucks? Because I ain't seen it outside of Ajax coming off the bench, and guys are shooting like 1 for 18 against them there from the floor. Outside of him, what's the good? What's the good right now without Giannis and Dame?
I mean, it's tough. Like, like you said, outside of Giannis and Dame, I mean, Dame had his game a couple of games ago where he scored like 4 points. Obviously, you're not going to get that most nights with Dame. I agree with you. Brook Lopez, I know they brought him back. I know he, kind of had a renaissance with his career when he got to Milwaukee, but I feel like there's no tread on those tires. Like you gotta swap him out. Torian Prince, I saw enough of him with the Hawks. I've never been a Torian Prince guy. So the fact that you're running him out there for 30 plus minutes a night, not surprised you're not winning a lot of games because Torian Prince does not come across to me as a major rotation guy on a team that wants to win a lot. Yeah. Gary Trent, like this is what Gary Trent is. When he was in Toronto or Portland or whatever, he'll give you one good game where he's knocking down threes and then he'll struggle. You kind of have to ride it out with him. He probably should be a bench guy if you really want to like be successful. Bobby Portis. Yeah, a couple of years ago, Bobby Portis was cool. Now, I don't know how much longer Bobby Portis fits in today's NBA. It's just a team that I don't think I like the makeup of them. I said before the season, like as a Celtics fan, the Bucks are always on the back of my mind because of Giannis. They are becoming more and more irrelevant to me. And that shouldn't be when you have Giannis and a Dame, even though I'm not the biggest Dame Lillard guy, but I understand what his talent is. The fact that they're 1-5, and Cleveland is not a bad team in any way, but like it's a Doc Rivers kind of team. But then that's kind of my issue with Doc Rivers. Like 6 games in, you don't want to panic and overreact, but just looking at this roster, like you have to change something. DeLon Wright's getting almost 20 minutes. Like, what's DeLon Wright in 2024? Like that's a problem. Pat Connaughton only got 10 minutes in their last game, but the days of Pat Connaughton being like Dante DiVincenzo is a guy who came off the bench who you were like, oh, you got to watch out for him, make sure he doesn't go off. I think those days are gone. This is like a team that's stuck in what these guys were a couple of years ago and are acting like they're not ready to move on from them because maybe they're afraid of – I don't even know what they're afraid of at this point because, yeah, a lot of these guys I would move on from. DeLon Wrights, Connaughtons, Brook, Gary Trent, I'd rather throw young guys in those spots in the rotation and live with it. Because if you're going to go down with a sinking ship with these guys playing meaningful minutes, like you said, what is Giannis's motivation to want to kill himself every night, having to score like 35, grab like 20 rebounds just to be competitive with a Cleveland team?
Yep.
Like that's no way that no superstar wants to have to do that game in and game out for 82 games because a lot of them won't be able to survive and play in June. They'll be worn down by then. So this is a team that needs to look in the mirror and start overhauling, give picks. I don't care. Like give some of these guys away for second round picks. I don't care. Just move them out, force Doc's hand to play young players because we know he's stubborn when it comes to young guys. That's going to be their best bet.
You alluded to it there, and I've said it for a while, but nobody would ever take me seriously on it. The draft for the Milwaukee Bucks. Last season, you get A.J. Johnson, Tyler Smith. We don't know anything about those guys yet. They barely played. We don't know anything about those guys. Mm-hmm. But you look before that, Chris Livingston, he's in the G League. Marjan Beachcamp doesn't play. Isaiah Todd, no idea. Isaiah Todd's not even relevant to us. R.J. Hampton, gone. Jordan Nora, gone. Kevin Porter, gone. Dante DiVincenzo, gone. DJ Wilson, nothing. Thornwell, nothing. Thon Maker, nothing. Malcolm Brogdon, had good years, but gone. Patrick McCaw, nothing. Rashad Vaughn, nothing. Norman Powell, nothing. Jabari Parker, nothing. Damian Gillis, nothing. Johnny O'Brien, nothing. Lamar Patterson, nothing. Here you go. Giannis Antetokounmpo, There's your one good pick. Let's look before that. Ricky Leto, nothing. John Henson, nothing. Doran Lamb, nothing. Jimmer Fredette. I thought Jimmer was going to be a dog, if I'll be honest with you, but nothing. John Lure from Wisconsin, nothing. There isn't. I mean, I'm looking through this draft. Look at the Celtics draft. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Did they draft Derek White? I don't even know. Did they draft Derek White?
Didn't.
They didn't draft Derek.
They drafted Peyton Pritchard. Something. Those are guys. I mean, you're talking about a superstar, and a very good role player that can shoot the lights out of a building, as we saw. Where's your difference coming? I know you're like, throw the youth in there. I think we have some good youth on this team, but do we have Jason Tatum's on this team? Do we have Jaylen Brown's on this team? You can't tell me that, yes, okay, I can forgive like 4 to 5 years, but we just went all the way back to 2013, even further back to 2010. And your best pick, and it was a fantastic, I mean, an outstanding pick in Giannis, right? But outside of that, nothing. You have got nothing from the draft. So now you're so reliant on, we got to make trades. We got to find these guys. We got to go out and get these guys. You can't live like that. You can't just constantly be hoping to God that, like you said, Bobby Portis continues to give you what he was 2 years ago, and Pat Connaughton somehow turns into or redevelops into a good corner 3 shooter, and you get good play out of this guy, and this guy turns his career around. You can't just hope. You can't just throw these guys together and just hope and pray. Like, it is just, I mean, I don't want to say Horst is the problem. I don't think Budenholzer was the problem. I can tell you that much. And I don't think that Adrian Griffin was the problem. You want to shoot me off, Bucks fans? You can shoot me off. But if you can prove to me that Doc Rivers was the better option than Adrian Griffin, I'll wait, because nobody can prove that one to me. Because when he left the Bucks, they were 30-13 or 33-13, whatever it was. They were in first place in the Eastern Conference. And then all of a sudden Doc Rivers walks in, and this Bucks team all of a sudden just like implodes from the inside out. What changed? I mean, it wasn't looking great with Adrian Griffin. I don't think they would have won the finals with him, but it still looked like something, and you were winning basketball games. Now it looks like, short of a horse's ass, I don't know what else to say. It looks like this is just bad all around basketball. Like, this is, I was honestly like, after the first loss, I was like, whatever. After the second loss, I was like, okay. And then you got like to the third, and then you got to the fourth. And now you're sitting there on this losing streak of 5 straight games. You have the Cavs in Cleveland one more time, and the schedule doesn't get easier. You have a lot of tough teams in the East now. The Knicks are good. The Celtics are good. The 76ers, if they actually get everybody out there, like Joel Embiid's throwing hands with reporters. He might as well play at this point. Like, Joel Embiid, get back in there. Like, you have so many good teams out there that right now this Bucks team is going to get lost. They're going to get lost in like the 5th, 6th spot, maybe 7th, maybe 8th. Heck, I don't even know. Like, I'm not worried about I think the Bucks will make the playoffs. Like, I think they'll get this straightened out. I think they just got to win a game, right? They just got to win a game to get that feeling back. They're going to make the playoffs. But right now, this team, what's the good? What are we looking at? And we're like, man, I feel confident in that. Outside of Giannis and Dame, what are we confident in? Nothing. I have nothing to be. Maybe if Middleton comes back and he's got bionic knees and just lights the world on fire, like, okay, then maybe you have a big 3 again and you have a shot. But that's reliant on Middleton staying healthy then too. So are we at a point where we are reliant on Middleton coming back healthy and staying in there for 50 plus games to actually do anything? Is that where we're at? Because if we're at that point, we're toast. Like, it's over. It's over for us at that point if you're relying on that. So, I mean, just a mess right now. And wow, this season it's a long season. It's a long season. And hopefully right now we are in an overreaction portion of it. And we can just, at some point, we're looking back on this and we're like, remember when we thought the Bucks completely sucked? They're fine. But until they prove that to somebody, I don't know what else to think right now. Then right now they are in, the beacons, I don't think the sirens are going off yet. I don't think the sirens are going off for a disaster, but I think, the guy's in the station right now and he's waiting to pull the lever. Like, I think that's where we're at right now. We're not at the siren going off, but we have a guy in the house right now who's waiting to pull that lever and tell us, wow, this is bad. This is bad right now, Kyle. Yeah.
I mean,
but also when you look at basketball, it's like Christmas is always like that period where fans will tune in and be like, where's my team? So if they're still this bad by Christmas, like it's like red button, smashing it down, high alert time. I know you went through the draft. That's the challenging part for being a Milwaukee, a Cleveland, like one of these middle America teams that aren't like the greatest destination for free agents, because a lot of free agents now only want to be in LA, Miami, New York, big cities, warm,
Yep.
all that, whatever. If you're not hitting on your draft and free agents aren't going there, you kind of get stuck with aging stars as you try to figure out your draft, and you probably go through a couple of coaches, new philosophy. And I think that's where Milwaukee is. The past few drafts of them not getting anybody who could contribute, now you're seeing it while bringing in a coach that loves veteran-laden teams. So unless you convince some team that maybe has an aging vet that wants out and are willing to take a chance on some of these unproven young players that Milwaukee has, this is kind of what you're going to be stuck with. And then at that point, because once again, Cleveland went through this with LeBron early in his career. They kind of were beholden to him. They wanted to appease him. They rolled out the red carpet for him, made him make a lot of decisions for the team. And then when he was ready to bounce, when he saw there was no light at the end of the tunnel, Cleveland was left holding the bag and trying to figure things out. That's what Milwaukee has to be careful with Giannis. Because I think we're starting to see over the past couple of seasons, like Giannis is getting more pull within that organization. As once again, in Milwaukee's mind, if we lose Giannis, what are we?
Yep.
So we got to do everything to keep him. There's a dangerous line you're playing there, because if he does leave you high and dry, you're stuck with still Brook Lopez, Taurean Prince's, but now you don't even have that Giannis anymore, who can cover up for a lot of them, and then you just drop back into obscurity. So that's what Milwaukee has to worry about in the future, needs to start operating now. Worst case scenario, Giannis leaves them with this group. Like, you got to start making moves.
Yep. No, I agree. I agree 100%. This Bucks team it's rough. It's rough. We're treading water. Over here in Milwaukee, and we'll see. I mean, they got a game coming up tomorrow night there. That's going to be with the Cavs again. We'll see what comes out of that. They just played a close one with them. Maybe they pull one out there, and maybe we're looking at it in a different perspective from there, but we'll see what happens on the flip side of that. So, Kyle, I mean, we got into the ugly right away. We might as well keep going with the ugly, right? The rough weekend at Wisconsin sports. We got to get to this Badger game. Badgers head down to Iowa. Aaron and I are kind of excited for this one. It's going to be a Big Ten battle, two dogs going at it, right? This is always one of those games where it's true grit on true grit, toughness. Mm-hmm. And the Badgers came out and they got completely railed. Like, I don't know how else to say it. This was a game where the Badgers, the only way I could think of it, Badgers, we used to have this coach by the name of Paul Chryst. And everybody hated Paul Chryst, right? Because he ran this straight ahead power offense, couldn't beat the good teams, everything like that. Guess what, Badger fans? We just lost to Paul Chryst. We didn't lose to Paul Chryst, the coach, because he wasn't on that sideline. But Iowa beat us, and they threw 10 passes in the entire game. 10 passes. Only 10, right? Mm-hmm. And we lose this game 42-10. 42-10, and they threw 10 passes in the entire game. What does that tell you? That's Paul Chryst at his finest. That's how we used to beat teams, right? Wisconsin used to beat teams exactly like Iowa just beat the snot out of us in Iowa City. I know it's on the road. It's tough to go to Kinnick and win. I agree with that one. But this wasn't even a game. They came out, and you came out, flat. I don't even know how, I don't even want to go through the stats. Because the stats suck. I don't even want to look at them. What I want to talk about is, okay, so is there a positive? Like, Badger fans, if you're out there on Twitter or anything like that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this game against Iowa. I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I want to talk about this with you and see is there a positive that came out of this game? Because for me, this is a game where you try to throw that sucker as far as you can into the closet and hide it in the back. Like, that's what you're doing right now. Like, this was ugly. This wasn't a game. This hurt to watch. We were never truthfully in this game. We were up 3-0 at the end of the first quarter, if you count that as being in the game, but we couldn't move the football. We looked like hot garbage. And then the rout started. The rout just absolutely started. And it sucks because after that Penn State game, you thought that the Badgers, they competed, right? They came out hot. They came out hot and heavy, and it felt like something. It felt like the Badgers were building towards something. And now you get this. Now you get this craptastic performance in Iowa. And I know, like I said, it's hard to go down to Iowa and just like win a game, right? Because they want you to play sloppy. They always have a good defense. Like, that's a tough team to play. But you showed me nothing in this game. Nothing that I could take away. Like, okay, we could take away some positives. Vinny Anthony continues to step forward and be a good playmaker. CJ Williams has had some good catches. Dupree looks fantastic in the backfield. Okay, sure. Like, you could take away singular performances out of this game. But as a team, you stunk. Like, the whole game, you stunk. This was bad. Your defense is getting wore down. And I tell you what, Kyle, if I'm going to run the football consistently, right? Iowa ran the ball, let's see here, for 330 yards. I was just looking for rushing attempts there. Let's see. Rushing attempts, 53 rushing attempts on the game for Iowa. If you were a defensive coordinator, would you stick in a nickel defense the entire game? Would you stick in a nickel defense with 2 down linemen for an entire game where you know what they're going to do? They are going to run it straight at you. Would you stay in a nickel defense?
No, not at all.
No,
and
not a chance. Like,
that's crazy. Yeah.
That is just baff. That's like you and me are sitting here. We don't know nothing. We're not a defensive coordinator. We don't know nothing. And we're sitting here saying to ourselves, okay, if they ran the ball 53 times and they threw the ball 10 times, and all those throws were run pass options essentially, except for they had a couple sprinkled in there. But outside of that, it was mainly run pass option. Why are we in a nickel defense? Why are you not it was just Tressel. I tell you what, I came out of this game and I'm not, you're not firing Fickle. I didn't know about the Fickle hire to start there. I wasn't sure on it, but you're not firing Fickle off this game. But if Fickle wants to stick with Longo and Tressel as his coordinators, then yes, fire them. Kick them all to the curb. Because the way that Longo is running this offense, I mean, I love vanilla ice cream. I do. But this offense is so vanilla that there's nothing going forward with it. There's no we learn nothing of identity. We learn nothing of what this offense is good at, what they're bad at. Braden Locke stinks. I don't know who else in the world needs to hear that, but he stinks. I try to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. I really do. But these interceptions are backbreakers. They are backbreakers. His throws are horrendous. There isn't a good part of what I'm seeing out of Braden Locke right now. I am sorry. I've tried my best to vouch for the guy and say like, hey, he's got a good arm. He can make this throw. He's just got to get his decision making. He's got to get better. When is it enough? When have you had enough of it? Right. I put out on Twitter. I was like, I'm getting used to political text and Braden Locke turnovers. Like, that's bad. That's bad when all over social media, all you see is lock this, lock that, Locke's bad, everything like that. Like, it is getting to the point where you have to realize as an offensive coordinator, a head coach, that this guy is not the guy for your offense. And, you have guys behind him. You have Mabry Matator, the 4-star freshman, sitting there on the bench. And yes, you don't want to burn a red shirt. I get it. You don't want to burn a red shirt. But at this point, screw it. I want to see what I have. Because otherwise I got to go in the transfer portal and I got to keep grabbing guys because that's what they keep doing. And I don't want to hear the excuse anymore of this is Paul Chryst' fault. This is all Paul Chryst' fault because these are Paul Chryst guys. Screw that. I've had enough of that. This is Phil Longo and Luke Fickle's quarterback room. Graham Mertz is not there. Miles Burkett is not there anymore. There is no Paul Chryst quarterback left in this room. Braden Locke came in. Tyler Van Dyke came in. Mordecai came in. Evers came in. All these guys are Phil Longo and Luke Fickle's guys. So we cannot blame Paul Chryst for what we're seeing out of this quarterback room right now. So either you're going to blame your coordinator or you're going to blame your quarterback. I'm blaming both of them right now. This is atrocious football. Like, I don't even know. It was embarrassing. Like, this was, and I'm not even a part of the team. And this was an embarrassing loss for Wisconsin football in Iowa. Like, you went down there And, you look at the schedule throughout the season, and there's games you circle, and you're like, these are games where I'm going to see where my program is trajectory-wise, right? You got to see which way they're trending. And this was a game versus Iowa where this wasn't Penn State. This isn't Oregon. This isn't Ohio State. This is a middle-of-the-pack Iowa team who is they're decent enough on defense, but their offense, they have a great running back there in Caleb Johnson. He's fantastic. Like, don't get me wrong. They have a great running back, but they have no quarterback. They have no identity. This isn't a great Iowa team. And this wasn't even a game. You got dog walked by a team that all they did was ran the football straight. They had a 10-play drive where they didn't even attempt to throw the football once. They ran it straight ahead 10 different times, and you had no answer. So if somebody cannot get an answer in Madison right now by the name of Luke Fickell, and I don't know if you can make changes now to this team. I don't know if you can fire coordinators middle of the season, right? But, I mean, you have Oregon coming up next. You have Nebraska after that, and then you have Minnesota, who has 2 ranked wins on the season already, and PJ Fleck sleeps 1,000 times better when he beats Wisconsin. So they're going to be amped up for that game. You have 2 winnable games and 1 game where, I tell you what, Oregon's going to dog walk them. I was like, after that Penn State game, I said to myself, you know what? I think Wisconsin could battle with Oregon for a little bit, and then Oregon's just going to be too overpowering for them, and they're just going to dog walk them at the end of it. I'm going to tell you what, if this game is 77-0, and when it's all said and done, I would be like, yep, that's what I expected. Like, that's what I'm getting from the vibes of this Madison team right now. Kyle, did you have any time to watch this game, Iowa-Wisconsin? You have any time to watch that game there? I mean, you're shaking your head. Yeah, you're like, this was bad. I want to talk about it. Tell me, what did you think coming out of that game?
Well, you hit on a couple of points. Like, it's one thing to lose Ohio State or whatever. When you're Wisconsin and you're going up against Iowa, that's like where you measure yourself in the Big Ten. You're kind of fighting for that second tier to be the best in that group. So that's the first thing. Second thing, it's not like Iowa hasn't shown that all they want to do is run the ball. They just beat, was it Northwestern the week before, running for like 250 yards. They beat Washington, I think, a couple of weeks before that, running for like 230. So it's clear going into the matchup, the key is stop Iowa running the ball and force them to throw, and you have a better opportunity. So the fact that you went up against Iowa, like you said, it was in Iowa, tough place, get that. But you can't let them run for 330 on the ground against you. Like, at a certain point, pride, scheme, like everything has to come into play, and you just go, look, we might be down, I don't know, let's say you're like down 21-0 or something. It's like they're just running the ball at us. Let's stop them here. I don't care if they throw it over the top and beat us on like a 70-yard bomb. Fine. But we're not going to sit here and continue to watch you just take the snap, turn around, hand it off, and beat us that way. There was no change. Because like you said, there was 3-0 at the end of the first quarter. Fine. Second quarter, Iowa wins that one 14-0. The third quarter, they win that 14-0. And then they win the fourth quarter 14-7. So once they got rolling, you couldn't stop them while, like you said, sticking in nickel defense. Which, once again, even if you just took it to Madden, like, if you play against somebody who just wanted to run the ball, you're not going to stay in nickel all day. You switch to a 3-4. Hey, maybe go 4-3, or if you have the right playbook, toss in a 5-2, just to show them, like, I see what you're trying to do. I'm not going to just let you do it. Let's see what you do now. That's, I think, the most discouraging part is just letting a team run the ball down your throat, because now that comes into question, is Wisconsin a soft team? Is the coaching staff just stubborn and didn't want to change anything? Like, now that brings up other questions that fans are looking at it like, are we lucky to be 5-4? Are we going to be lucky to make a bowl game? You don't want that. Like, you want to look at this and it would be like, I mean, look, before the game, I was thinking Iowa, Wisconsin, probably be low scoring because that's usually how both teams like to play. But 42-10 was not what I was expecting. And like time of possession, They lose that 33-26. That tells you a team in Iowa that wasn't really worried about anything you could do defensively against them.
Yep.
And that's a problem. If you're, like I said, because if you're Wisconsin, you're supposed to be battling with your Iowas, and I guess normally would be like Indiana, even though Indiana's playing really well, or Illinois. Like those teams are always usually fighting to see, can we be that fourth or whatever team in the Big Ten? Because we know who the top three will be. But can one of us just climb out from this group and be that team? It's just like Wisconsin clearly isn't it this year.
Yep.
If you're going to lose to Iowa like that, then yeah, Oregon's going to be probably brutal the other way. Oregon might just throw the ball all over the place on you.
Yep.
And now you'll be sitting at 5-5, and now you're gonna have kids like a couple of weeks ago looked like we were destined to be a bowl team. We might not even be a bowl team anymore. And now the whole season is a complete failure.
Yep.
So we'll see how. And look, the line was 3. It was Iowa -3 was the line going into the game. So look, they're gonna have to really have a looking at each other and be like, who are we? How do we bounce back from this? Because this is the type of loss when you lose like that can linger for a few weeks.
Yep. No, 100%. That's demoralizing, especially with the bye week this week. Like that is a demoralizing loss right there. And that's, looking at each other. That's what Luke Fickell said after the game. He said, there's nothing that stings more than this. A lot of guys, myself included, first and foremost, they're going to have to take a self-check and look in the mirror and really self-evaluate where they are and what they are willing to do moving forward. This was kind of the worst nightmare to be overtaken, mishandled, and dominated, especially in the second half. I mean, dude, you got outcoached. Like, we're talking about this defense with the nickel defense. You have safeties playing 15 yards back like they're about to air it out. I would have said, screw it. I would have sent it out. I would have sent the house. And I would have said, if you beat me through the air, sure. Like, walk with it. But you went into this game and you knew what Iowa wanted to do. They don't want to throw the football. They have a second string guy in there at this point. Sullivan is not even their starter. And you have a second stringer in there who can't throw the football consistently, right? That's not what Iowa wants to do. Mm-hmm. Shut them down in the run game. Go all out. Like you said, I don't care if you got to throw a 5-2 defense at them. Whatever you have to do to shut down what they want to do, which is control the ground game. You did nothing about that. 330 yards on the ground. They were averaging 6 yards a carry. 6 yards a carry. That is terrible. That is pitiful. Mm-hmm. Your defensive front stinks, and we know that. We knew that heading into this one, but they stink. Like, we know that now. You have a linebacker core but you have a whole defense that's put into a bad situation, honestly. With running a nickel defense against a high-powered running offense, you were just expecting this. You were asking for it. This is just bad all-around football, and exactly like Luke Fickell said there, and what he needs to do first is take a look in the mirror, because like you said, and like I'm saying right now, they were outcoached, they were outplayed, they were outmanned, they were undisciplined. They didn't do anything in this game to show us, hey, Wisconsin football is back on the map. I don't know if this is like a gut check to tell us that this program has a long way to go under Luke Fickell before they're back to like a powerhouse or like at least a considerable team when it comes to Big Ten rankings, but they have a long way to go. They have a long way to go, because this is a game where, yes, we've said it a million times. It's hard to go down to Kinnick and win a game down in Iowa. Like, that's tough. It's a night game. Iowa's a good defensive team. They like to, if this would have ended up 28-14, it's fine. Like, you move on with life. Like, you get over it. But this was 42-10. And the only reason why you scored 7 points, I don't even count that last touchdown. It was in garbage time. They didn't mean jack dilly squat to anybody in the room, right? And you knew Iowa was running up that score when it was a 4th and 2, and they were already up 35-10 at that point, and they went for it and they housed it. Like, you knew at that point Iowa's running up the score. They want to let everybody know Iowa's for real. We're not pushed around, and Wisconsin stinks. Like, that is what they came into this game with, a better mentality, more physicality, and everything else than Wisconsin did in this one. I don't know if Wisconsin I don't know if they lost all hope after the game against Penn State or what it was, but they came into this game flat and it looked atrocious. And it is just, I'm sitting here like, is this program truly, like, after that Penn State game, you rattle off that 3-game win streak, and then you had that Penn State game, and you lose. But it felt like, to me, this program's trending in the right direction, right? And you felt good. Now you get this game and it's like, okay, where are we trending towards? Like, are we actually trending in the right direction? Or did Penn State just really play that bad of a game when they came to Madison? And, what was the difference there? So,
yeah.
I mean, man, oh man, I come out of this game and this was bad. This was a bad one. And I mean, we're going to talk about it more. We're going to be on Wednesday. We're going to talk more about it on the show here. So we're going to dive more into this game. We're going to talk about what needs to happen going into this bye week and a little bit more about the Badgers. So we want to get into it more as the week goes on there. But let's look at the college football slate of the weekend here real quick, because there was a couple of good games out there. Let's see here. The big one, right? Ohio State and Penn State. 20-13 was the final score there. Any thoughts, reactions coming? I saw James Franklin get into a yelling match with the fans out there. The Penn State fans were a little upset with James Franklin there after he loses another one to Ryan Day and Ohio State. But I mean, this is kind of what I expected Wisconsin, Iowa to be. Was this kind of like a dogfight, more of a defensive game more than anything. Aller didn't have his greatest performance, 12 for 20 with an interception. Howard had a pretty good day, 16 for 24, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He had that pick 6, which wasn't great on his part there. But any reaction coming out of that one, Ohio State and Penn State there?
I mean, look, I like to joke with Aaron a lot about being a James Franklin fan. I honestly did not know James Franklin was that hated at Penn State. Like,
he is.
I get it. Like, you lose to Ryan Day again the same way when Ryan Day was losing to Jim Harbaugh. Like, that was something that, like, no matter what your season was doing, like, that was the game that people looked at. But I mean, Penn State, you're 7-1. You're still highly ranked. It's no longer a 14 playoff anymore. Like, you have a shot at a playoff spot. It's not like you got blown out by Ohio State. Like you said, it's 20-13. But that was like the one thing I took from it. Like, the man's walking down the tunnel and they're all yelling, "Fire James Franklin." You lost one game so far. Like, I thought like Aaron just didn't like him because, I thought he was like in the minority. Yep. Especially this year, you were 7-0, you were 3rd ranked. You lost to the 4th ranked team. Not like you lost to some unranked opponent. But then I was just watching, I was like, this guy's like universally hated at this college. Like, how does he still work there? Like, how has he not just walked in one day and was like, I can't do this anymore. I got to go somewhere. Like, that's crazy to me. So now it's like, this is kind of the same in Wisconsin. How do they bounce back? Because it's easy to be a good team and, be real confident in yourself when you're 7-0. But now you lost to Ohio State. Now you got, students and everything wondering, like, was the 3rd ranking too high? Are they really that good? Is Ohio State that good? And you just lost to a really good team by a touchdown. Or does it kind of fall out from here? And you go, well, now they're 6th ranked, but you go from like 6th ranked to missing the playoff. Like, that would be the nail in the coffin for James Franklin. But look, you got Washington coming up next. Washington hasn't had that great of a season. You got Purdue, you got Minnesota, you got Maryland. There's a good chance that by the end of the season, you're 11-1, you're a probably top 5 team in the country, and you're in the playoffs. Could be a lot worse. Once again, I'm a BC fan. Come wake me up when BC is even thought of as a playoff team. Like, come on. Like, that's first world problems. You lost to Ohio State. So I don't think it's as bad as obviously fans think it is right now after losing. Because I think they have talent on that team.
Yep.
I will still say I think James Franklin is a good coach. But I guess where I do worry is I still think Penn State is probably still going to be like a 2nd-tier Big Ten type of team. I don't think I put them up there with Ohio State or Michigan of Harbaugh's days, with now Michigan's kind of fallen off. But now you're bringing in teams like Oregon and USC and other stuff like that. I still think Penn State is a 2nd-tier Big Ten team. So obviously the fans want them to be on a level with Ohio State. I just don't think they're there. Now this game shows that maybe the gap isn't as wide as I might have thought in previous years. But once again, if James Franklin is this hated, we might be looking at them trying to find a new coach soon, and then we'll have to see like how they recruit and everything like that. I don't think I'd overreact like that, but yeah, James Franklin is just hated. That was my biggest. That's what I learned from this game. Nobody likes this guy.
No. He's hated around Penn State at this point. Can't win the big game. And that's going to be constantly his crutch there. So We'll see what happens with Penn State moving. They're good. I mean, they're a good enough team, right? Aaron would tell us that he still has no faith in them, but they're a good enough team here. So we'll see what Penn State does moving forward.
But like I said, I get when it's a 14 playoff, you think that way. It's 12 now. Like you, as Penn State, could be an annual playoff team when it comes to 12 because you have good years. You usually get usually like a 10-win team. That's going to be good enough to get you in the playoffs.
Yep.
And I use it with every sport. Once you're in, you got a shot.
Yep. No, 100% agree. 100% agree there. So we had a lot of interesting matchups, right? Duke plays close with Miami for a while there. Then Miami just overtakes them late in that game and just completely blew their doors off. Kentucky plays close with Tennessee in that one. South Carolina pulls off. This wasn't even an upset. I don't even count it as an upset because they kicked the crap out of them, like 44-20. Is that really an upset anymore? Or was that just a shellacking? 44-20 over Texas A&M. We see Iowa State go down to Texas Tech late in that one. A late touchdown secures the win for Texas Tech there. Indiana absolutely rolled over Michigan State. Slow start, down 10-0, and then they put up 21 unanswered points in the second quarter there just to roll them over. I want to get back to some of these games after I review them all here. Louisville's not a bad football team. I learned that when they played. Louisville just had a close game with Miami a couple weeks ago, and they come up, they beat Clemson 33-21. Fans are throwing crap on the field. It was great. I saw a video of it was Dabo Sweeney. It was Dabo Sweeney running down the hill, and the caption was Dabo running to the College Football Playoff Committee to see if we can get 32 teams into the playoff, and they show him running across the field there. Houston pulls off the upset, 24-19 over Kansas State. SMU gets the big win over Pitt, 48-25. SMU moves to 8-1. They're sneaking on the back door of that playoff committee's radar there. Ole Miss completely rolls Arkansas. Nothing to talk about there. Army moves to 8-0, 20-3 over Air Force. Air Force, not a very good football program. And Army now moves to 8-0, so you love that. And then Minnesota, another ranked win, like I mentioned earlier, 25-17 over Illinois there. So, I mean, any game throughout those that kind of stuck out to you? I mean, the Texas A&M one for sure, because I did not see that one coming. Like, that was a shellacking of all kinds there. But any other games that stuck out to you there?
Well, because I feel like the last time I think I was on, we talked about how the ACC is trying to get like a second team in or possibly third. I was impressed with SMU because, Pitt was another ranked team. Pitt isn't the easiest team to go up against. I think SMU might change my mind into thinking that the ACC will get a second team. Now, obviously, SMU has to finish the job, and I mean, they face my BC team in a couple of weeks here, but you got BC, Virginia, and Cal. You can't slip up now. Like, you took care of Pitt. That was like your last ranked opponent to go up against. You beat them handily, 48-25. I think now they're kind of on the committee's radar. You can't blow it at this point. So when you win the 3, you take your chances against Miami in the ACC title game. I mean, Miami is a good team. Cam Ward looks like a, Heisman hopeful. So that's going to be a tough game for you. But can you keep it close, even like a close loss? I think SMU, I think I'll say it. I think SMU is a playoff team.
I like that. Bold take there. And, the Big Ten might beat themselves out of it because if Indiana goes undefeated, they beat Ohio State. There's 2 losses on Ohio State's resume now behind. I mean, Indiana, I can't wait for that game. I'll be honest with you. Indiana against Ohio State. That is I don't I don't care about the defense. I mean, Indiana's got a good defense, but that offense is absolutely lighting the world on fire. Like 47 points in that game. You throw for 263 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns if you're Rourke in that game there. That offense is high octane. Holy crap. The job of Kurt Sangetti to turn that program around from what they were, a basketball school with no hope in football, to now this team's the 13th ranked team in the country. I was just going to check that. They've had to have moved up.
Yes. Indiana's now 8. Crazy.
Number 8 team in the country. Like, you almost say that Wisconsin and Indiana flip-flopped what they were as programs. Like, there's been years where Wisconsin was up there, and now all of a sudden Indiana comes in, and Wisconsin's, like, forgotten about. We're now Indiana. So, great. We're now the Indianas of the world. That's fantastic. That's just fantastic. You got to love that.
Don't look past Michigan. I think that's the worry if you're Indiana. You're 8th ranked. Everybody's singing your praises. You have Ohio State on the 23rd. Don't look past Michigan. Take care of business there.
Are you calling a trap game?
They
don't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback. That's the only problem with Michigan. Like, they can't beat you offensively. They could beat you defensively.
Right. But look, for schools that aren't normally in this position, because once again, I saw it with BC that year with Matt Ryan. They got up to, I think, 2nd ranked in the country. Everybody was loving on them. And then I think it was like a Thursday night, they lost to Florida State, and the bottom fell out of the season. So for Indiana being a top 10 team, this is not normal territory for them. Michigan's having a down year. Obviously, they're 5-4, and you know the buildup to Ohio State's going to be there. Don't mess it up and lose to Michigan. Take care of Michigan, and then you'll have 2 weeks to prepare for Ohio State. You have plenty of time to put in the work. Don't think you do that too early. Because if they do that, even if they lose close to Ohio State and they can take care of Purdue, once again, Indiana will be a playoff team. They're in a Big Ten conference that's, pretty good up at the top. And if they're up there, the committee's not going to look back at their season and go, oh yeah, no, this team's not good. Like, take care of business.
Yep. No, I agree. I agree with you 100%. Antonio Moore there over on Twitter, he says it's been a rough week for Wisconsin in sports. Yeah, it's been a rough week. It has been a rough week. It's been a rough weekend. It's been just about as bad as it could get for Wisconsin sports. It has gotten, right? We maybe had Packers, Badger football, Badger volleyball got swept by Nebraska on Friday. I think that was on Friday there. Not great, especially when you're looking at where Wisconsin's at volleyball wise. Not great in that by any means there. I mean, wow, just wow. It's been rough. It's been rough. Carson Beck still sucks for Georgia. I just wanted to say that. I just saw his stat line from Florida there. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He sucks. I mean, we can just get over that one. I mean, Boise State, they might sneak in that Mountain West too. Ashton Genty is a fantastic running back. Like, that dude is a dog. Like, I want to see him in the college football playoff just for him. I don't even care about the rest of it. I don't even care about the rest of it. Like, he's a fantastic running back there. Outside of that, not much to really dissect there in the college football world there. So before we get to the Packers, because I want to jump into the Packers there, I got a door open behind me here. I don't like that. I can see it there now. Don't like that door open. Before we get to the Packers here, Kyle, let's get to our fact of the day. What do you got for me? Fact of the day.
Okay, here we go. Like I said,
new role for him. Stay easy on
normally this is Aaron's thing.
Yeah,
he usually does that. Hey, I'm ready for it. Let's see. All right, so here we go. Going back to the year 1964, November 3rd, the date when the first Buffalo Wings were created. Up in Buffalo, New York, owner of the Anchor Bar. And now you can't even watch a sporting event without having some wings near you. So you can look back on this day in 1964 and say, that's where every sports fan's gut got a little bit bigger. It was because of Teresa Bellissimo of the Anchor Bar in Buffalo, New York.
That was a fantastic fact of the day right there. Like, I'm not going to lie. That was fantastic. Aaron usually has to ask me first. He's like, is it going to be, do you want a gruesome one? Or I'm like, dude, why would I want a gruesome one? Like, let's just relax. I don't want a gruesome one in there. Let's get a good one. Let's get one that's not going to scare me to go to bed. Like, come on.
Nothing goes with sports like buffalo wings, so it seemed like the perfect one.
That is awesome. Buffalo Wild Wings is definitely a game day stop right there. And Antonio says our hockey team was phenomenal this weekend. Yeah, the Wisconsin women's hockey team got 2 wins against St. Cloud State this weekend. And I did see the men's got a win against Notre Dame. I believe that was Notre Dame. I saw they won on Saturday 2-1. They lost in overtime on Friday, but they got the win on Saturday. So they moved to, I believe, 2-6 on the season. The men's do. And the women's team, we're known for women's hockey in Madison, Kyle, there. We're 12-0. The women's team is 12-0 right now. So usually, I'm sorry, Antonio, usually Hunter sends us a video. He's our hockey guy. He usually sends us a video recapping the entire weekend of hockey and his thoughts on it. He did not have time this weekend to throw us together a video, but we will. If you tune in on Wednesday, he will have a video for us on Wednesday recapping the weekend there, and then he usually has the weekend preview for you there. So we know a little bit about hockey, but Hunter's our main guy when it comes to Wisconsin hockey out there. So, Kyle, let's get to the Packers. Let's get to the Packers. We can't avoid it anymore. We might as well just throw it down with the Packers there. I mean, come on now. 24-14 was our final score in that one for the Packers. And rainy conditions in Lambeau. Jared Goff sucks outside. We're like, this is setting up well for Green Bay. And, well, the first quarter, 3-0 at the end of the first quarter. And then the Detroit just rattled off 17 unanswered points in that second quarter there. And it just went downhill. And, I mean, the biggest, I guess, takeaway that I had, undisciplined. I mean, just undisciplined play by the Green Bay Packers, 10 penalties on the game there for 67 yards on the day. 10 penalties, 67 yards. You got a costly pick 6 by Jordan Love. And I know, the groin was bothering him again, right? He wasn't as mobile as what he would be or what he was, what he's been, right? So that doesn't help at all. He's trying to escape the pocket. He makes another dangerous throw once again and gets pick 6. That doesn't help the cause at all there. Kind of pushes the momentum back into the Lions' favor there. And, the oddest part, Kyle, about this entire game, the Packers had 411 yards of total offense. The Lions had 261. And the final score was 24-14. That tells you how many times the Packers drove the ball down the field and could not capitalize in certain situations. That sucks. Because when you talk, if I were to give you, if I gave you the blind stats from this game, you don't know the outcome. And I told you that one team had 411 yards compared to 261, right? If I told you those stats right there. And I said that team that had 411 yards averaged 6 yards per play. They had 9 drives on the game. They were 23 for 39 on passes, right? 7 yards per pass there. And they also went for 138 yards on the ground. So those are the stats you got. They outside of that, they were 3 for 12 on third down there. They had 10 passing first downs. They had 7 rushing first downs compared to the opposing team who had less yards, had 8 passing first downs and 8 rushing first downs. They were 4 for 12 on third down. Who would you think won that football game?
Right. You would normally think the team that had the 400 plus yards of offense got it done. And I think when you see stats like that and then you see the bottom line is that they lost, there's one stat that sticks out. Red zone efficiency. The Packers are 1 for 4. That's how a team can gain less yards and still find a way to win. It's all good to get a lot of yards within the 20s, but once you get into that red zone area, gotta capitalize, especially against a Detroit team that's tough. You gotta take advantage of those opportunities that you have. Because yes, the pick 6 was terrible. And even looking at the score, like you take that one play out, it's a 17-14 kind of game. And if you watch the game, it's like, yeah, that kind of fit. It was 2 teams battling the elements. It was just that play and the red zone inefficiency. And like you said, the penalties, that's where Green Bay lost this game. I still think Green Bay's a good team. Obviously Jordan Love needs to get healthy, but they have the bye week now, so that should work in his favor. But it just shows that Detroit, like the hype is real with Detroit.
Yep.
Like they're not a 7-1 team by a fluke. Like this is a legit good team.
And the worst part for me coming out of this game was it wasn't like the Packers. If the Packers played to full strength, if they played to the ability and they avoided the undisciplined, false starts, the pre-snap penalties, if they grow up essentially as a team, right? They grow up a little bit. It's like you're talking about a bunch of kids right now, right? That's not what we're making it seem, but it's undisciplined football at this point. And if the Packers avoid those undisciplined plays, and this team, this Green Bay Packers team, I know, the hype is real with the Lions. Like, I agree. Like, I think the Lions are the best team in the NFC. Like, I think if they went, they're the best shot for the NFC to go and play the Kansas City Chiefs right now, because until the Kansas City Chiefs get knocked off, I cannot dethrone them as the top of the AFC. I can't solidly say that the Packers are this much worse than the Lions, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a good Packers team. Like, don't be wrong. This is a good Packers team. Now, what I learned about the Packers is when Jair Alexander isn't there, we don't have a cornerback to fall back on. Keyshawn Nixon is, I like Keyshawn Nixon. I really do. I really like Keyshawn Nixon, but I also don't like Keyshawn Nixon because he cannot be on Amon-Ra St. Brown. He gets ate alive. Like, Keyshawn Nixon is not a good cover corner. He's not. So Keyshawn Nixon struggled in there today. No Devin Williams hurts you. And then you also add on to that your starting center, Josh Myers, is out with injury. So now Elton Jenkins has got to slide into that center role. You see how many botch snaps there were. Now, does not help. The football slippery and everything like that. Does not help at all. But you have a guy who doesn't usually suit up in that spot, is now trying to play that in a game here against the Lions. Just about everything. The Packers killed themselves in this game. Like, this was a winnable game for the Green Bay Packers. And the undisciplined play, the drops, right? You had, Dontavian Wicks drops that touchdown, right? He was wide open. Now, ball slippery. I get it. But look at the Lions. Like, I am going to tell you this now. There were a lot of drops in this game by the Green Bay. There was not a lot, but there was a fair share of drops by the Green Bay Packers in this game. The Lions did not seem to have that same problem, right? They didn't drop the wide open catch. They didn't drop it. So how can we sit here and say to ourselves, well, the ball was wet. The ball was wet, right? Lions are playing on the same surface. It was raining when the Lions had the ball. It was doing the same thing outside. The wind was still blowing when the Lions had the ball. Why was it different for the Green Bay Packers in this one? Why was it different? It comes with a different kind of focus. It comes with a different kind of, keeping your eye on the ball, whatever it is for a Dontavian Wicks to try and haul in a pass, right? That was a wide open, nobody in the area code pass for Dontavian Wicks. He catches that. We're talking about a different ball. We're talking, they scored a touchdown earlier than that, right? So now it's 21 points right there instead of 14 or whatever it would have been at that point. And now we're talking about a Brandon McManus field goal being the difference in a game, right? Because he missed one early on. Now it's like we all know, kicking's not easy. When it's raining, it's definitely not easy at all to kick a football. But you're talking about a Brandon McManus missed field goal as your difference in this one. The Packers did not play a good game of football here. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, they did not play a good. It felt better when you look at the stats than what it was, right? The Packers did not play to their full potential in this game, and that definitely hurts. It definitely hurts because you're heading into a bye week right now. You're heading into a bye week, and what is your? It's not like it's a demoralizing loss, but you realize how close you were and you played this much ugly football to the point where you lost the game because of it now. So now it's a gut check. Now you're going into a bye week with a gut check. You're like, okay, I'm on the offensive line. I got to figure out these snaps, right? I got to figure out all this pre-snap stuff here. Understanding the cadences, understanding this, right? You're jumping offside, you're false starting, all these false starts. It's all these little things for the Green Bay Packers that constantly come back to bite them, especially in the biggest moments, right? Against the Detroit Lions. You had a drive where Brian Branch got tossed out. He got ejected from this game. You got 15 yards off of that. Then he gets ejected. And then you get another 15 yards because he flips the double bird, and you can't find a way to capitalize on that drive. Yeah. That's bad. That's bad. You got it. You said it perfectly there. I read the stats off to you, and you said, the difference was the red zone. We talked about it in the preview show. We said, you got to find a way to score in the red zone. You got to find a way to convert on third downs. 3 for 12 on third down. That's not great. Now 2 for 3 on fourth down. Not bad, right? You take that any day of the week and twice on Sunday. But I mean, 3 for 12 on third down. That's pitiful. That's bad. I mean, that's bad. You can't win a game against the Detroit Lions with the outside statistics that we're talking about, like the penalties, like you lost the turnover battle, right? One turnover, you're going to have a turnover, I guess, but 1 turnover to nothing. Jared Goff, you're talking about, the ball is slippery. Jared Goff went 18 for 22 for 145 yards and a touchdown. Like, he was clean. He was clean with that ball. Jordan Love, 1 interception, 23 for 39. There's your difference. 1 interception was your difference in this one. And it sucks, but this is the gut check. This is the reality check that I think the Green Bay Packers needed to show them this is where the Lions are. This is where we are. We have the ability to get up to them. We have that capability. This is a good, talented wide receiver room. They have talent on that defense. They have a good coach. They have a good coordinator. They have a decent enough offensive line. You got Josh Jacobs. You have a good quarterback in Jordan Love, right? You have a good quarterback in Jordan Love. You just got to find a way to cut out the crap in between and put together a collective football game, because this game was ugly for the Lions. This wasn't a great game by the Lions. I don't think Dan Campbell, yes, they love to beat the Packers, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown needs to learn that Green Bay is spelt with Green Bay, not all put together. Like, let's figure out how to put together a sweatshirt there. But, Dan Campbell's not walking in the locker room and saying, boys, nice game. We played a complete clean game today. Like, there was nothing wrong. Like, we have nothing to look at that we need to fix. He's definitely walking into there telling them that kind of stuff. They played an ugly game and won, right? They played an ugly game and won in the rain, on the road. And you're looking at the Packers and you're saying, you played a decent game on offense, right? 411 yards. That's a good game on offense. But look at the efficiencies. Look, when you got down to the nitty gritty, what needed to happen, and you didn't make it happen. So, it's a gut check, right? This has got to be that gut check time where you're going into the bye week. You come off with the Bears. You got to come off with a different kind of mentality going into that game.
Yeah. I think if you're Green Bay, you look at this. I think if you're a Packers fan, you look at this game and say, if we get to January, NFC title game, and it's Lions-Packers, I could see that. And I also think for the players, you got to look at this and say, we lost by 10 to a really good team. Now we know what to expect. I don't care what the conditions are. Jared Goff is going to play within himself. Dan Campbell and that coaching staff's not going to expose him to his weaknesses. So a lot of the plays were very quick, short, passing routes, get into the hands of the guys that can make plays after the catch. Jared Goff's always going to be super efficient. That's who he is. That's what he's been. So when you play teams that are disciplined, don't make too many mistakes, yes, 1 interception can be the difference. 10 penalties or something that can be the difference. But the good thing is, when it comes to penalties, that's something that you can do better with by just being more focused. And that's why I'm like, if I'm looking at these two teams and I'm looking at the NFC, I could come out of this saying a healthy Jordan Love, these two might be the 2 best teams in the NFC right now. And that's with me having like a lot of love for Washington and what they have going right now. But like I said, if this was an NFC title game in a couple of months, I would not be surprised of it. And I would be expecting a really good competitive game. I feel like that's a takeaway, even with the bad loss, that you should probably take from this as a Packers fan.
Completely agree with you there. There's got to be some positives come away, but there's also the gut check. Like you mentioned there a little bit. And like I was saying, this is gut check time. You come out of the bye week and the discipline, it's just, you get back to playing disciplined football. You feel better, right? You just feel better there. So, just all great stuff there. We're going to get more into the Packers. As you know, when we get on this live show on Wednesday, we're going to talk more about the Packers heading into the bye week, everything like that. We're going to get more into them there. We'll talk about the rest of the NFL there. But Kyle, I got news across the board here. So I want to get into that for the last couple minutes here. We're going to run until about an hour 30 here, like about where we want to stop. the Gold Glove winners were announced by the MLB.
Okay.
So I wanted to get into that because some exciting news for the Milwaukee Brewers. We see our boy from Milwaukee get in there. Bryce Terang is a Gold Glove winner at second base. You love that. You love that. About time. They got it right. They gave me something. They gave me something there. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I wanted to see one more here. Sal Frelick from the Milwaukee Brewers wins a Gold Glove. He wins a Gold Glove. Hallelujah. Like, thank you. Thank you, MLB, for giving me something with that one. Sal had 16 defensive runs saved on the season, which was most in the NL by a right fielder, and only trailed Abreu from, I believe he's from the AL there. Let's see. Is Abreu?
That's Red Sox Wilyer Abreu?
I think so. He actually only... I think Abreu had 17. I was just going to scroll up and see because he must have been... Yep. Wilyer Abreu from the Red Sox had 17 defensive runs saved, and Sal Frelick had 16. So that's impressive. Those are two impressive guys right there. So the Red Sox, there you go. Wilyer Abreu gets on there. Let's see here. Patrick Bailey from the Giants won the catcher. Christian Walker at first base. Bryce Terang at second. Tovar at shortstop there. Was Tovar really that good? 10 defensive runs saved. Not bad. Not bad, I guess. Trying to see if I saw anybody else on here of note. Chris Sale won the Gold Glove for the Braves. Chris Sale was your Gold Glove winner for the Braves.
He had a really good season.
I know. I hate that the Braves were knocked out so early because he was pitching well. They had some good pitching going on. This was a Braves team. Well, I was excited for Chris Sale to finally be put back on a map there. Let's see here. Utility
our
was
our guy Stephen Kwan won one.
Did he?
Yep, he won.
I'm happy for that guy. Happy for that guy. He deserved it there. Seth Lugo, he got in there. Dalton Varsho, Wisconsin guy there from Marshfield, Wisconsin. He got his Gold Glove there with the Blue Jays. He's not a great bat, but heck of a defender, and he's got some power in there. So you love that. Dalton Varsho getting out there. A little bit of a Wisconsin fella, huh? I didn't know Alex Bregman had that good of a year for the Astros.
I don't think a lot of people do.
No. He won the third base. He had 6 defensive runs saved. He combined throughout from 2020 to 2023, he had a combined 4 defensive runs saved compared to his 6 from last season. That's wild. That's a wild stat right there. Bobby Witt wins the shortstop. Jimenez from the Guardians won second base. Carlos Santana wins first base. Cal Raleigh wins it in the American League for catchers. Wow. That was Interesting one there. But hey, in all hindsight, the main reason why we're here, Sal Frelick and Bryce Terang both win Gold Gloves, and rightfully so. I am honestly kind of, I want to say I'm peeved off, but who won the center field? Brendan Doyle?
Yeah. Second straight Gold Glove for Brendan Doyle.
I want to see how many defensive runs saved that Blake Perkins had for the Brewers.
Yeah. Because the big stat for Doyle is he ranked 98th percentile in range and arm strength.
Let's see here. Hang on.
Which I guess works in Coors Field because that outfield is pretty big.
Let's see. Defensive runs saved. MLB leaders. Let's see if we can't find it here. Let's see if we can't find the list. Okay. So, total runs saved. Dalton Varsho had 28. Who did we just say his name was? What's this other guy?
Brenton Doyle.
How many did it say he had?
Well, the site I'm on just had that his range and arm strength were top tier. It did not say what his defensive run saved
right
was.
there. 11. He had 11
Okay.
defensive runs saved on the season. Now I'd have to find Blake Perkins. This is a lot of dudes to look through here. Where is Blake Perkins on this list? Jackson Churio had 12 on the season.
Okay.
Perkins, Blake Perkins, 8. Whatever. Just shut up. If it was for Gold Glove as in home run robbery, then it would be Blake Perkins, because that guy was I love watching Blake Perkins out there because he's the most nonchalant home run robber that's ever possessed Earth. Like the most, he's just like jogging back, like you do. It's like when you see guys who hit no doubt home runs and the guys just like slowly jog back, like that's Blake Perkins on every home run rob. Like he's just slowly jogging back, stands there, leaps, catches, throws it in, straight face, like no excitement, like that a boy. Like I love him, but he's such a straight face, like no emotion kind of guy, and you kind of like that.
Yeah.
So, in all hindsight, headline: Bryce Terang, Sal Frelick win some Gold Gloves, win some hardware. You gotta love that. Milwaukee Brewers get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, but we got some hardware coming home, so that's good. That's good there. So, Kyle, anything else we got to wrap it up? We're at an hour 30. Anything else we got to wrap it up for the day here?
I mean, no, it's a good show. I mean, look, you just talk about Gold Gloves. I didn't see any Yankees on there. I'm sure in that 5th inning, they wish they had a Gold Glove type of player, because that's where it all fell apart.
That would be the ultimate shot, is like if Aaron Judge won a Gold Glove after they just got, oh my. I don't think he actually had an air. Did he have an air all season?
That was his first air.
Isn't that something? Like, he could have won a Gold Glove. And if he would have won a Gold Glove, and then he drops the ball in that 5th inning, essentially to lose the World Series there. Not really,
that's all
but
Yankee
in
fans would have
hindsight.
known. Yeah.
That would have been hilarious. Like, that would have been one last shot to the kneecaps of the Yankee fans out there, and I'd been here for it. I'd have been here for it. You got to love that one. Oh, absolutely, man. So we got a Monday night game coming up tomorrow night, Buccaneers Chiefs. We got the Badgers men's basketball back in action tomorrow night against Holy Cross there on Big Ten Plus. We're going to be talking about kind of like recapping that game on Wednesday on the show here. We'll talk about Badgers Holy Cross. We'll talk about the NFL slate. We'll talk about a little bit more Packers, a little bit more Badgers, because we know both those teams had gut checks, and the Badgers a little bit more than anybody. And we're going to have to know more about that come Wednesday here on the show. So with that, you can find Kyle anywhere you get podcasts, all across social media, Chomping at the Bit podcast. You can find him there. Great stuff. If you're a Boston fella out there, if you want to keep track of the NBA, if you want to keep just the most random things in the world, this is your guy. This is your guy here. He's always got controversial stuff that you can yell at him about. He's always got all those things. So make sure you check him out across all social media platforms out there. Great stuff by Kyle. And, I mean, he'll maybe be back on Wednesday. We'll see how it goes. Maybe he'll be back on Wednesday there. We never know. Maybe on Friday we'll get him back on, because the Bucks still sink, and we got to talk about it, right? They're a sinking ship, and Kyle's here to pat me in the back and tell me it's going to be okay. He's a Boston guy, so it doesn't count. But with that, for Kyle and myself, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for all tuning in. We'll catch you guys back here on Wednesday. But until then, see ya.